Before we continue, know one thing. What you are about to hear is not ordinary entertainment. It is a story that has been buried for years because it exposes the true price of fame. A famous actor, at the peak of his career, signed a contract that promised everything and ended tragically. If you stay until the end, you will understand why some reach the top and never come back. This is not a video for the curious. It's for those who can bear to look at what happens away from the cameras. What you are about to hear has been compiled into a dossier. Testimonies, patterns, silences, and coincidences too numerous to ignore. Before anything else, take a deep breath. What you are about to hear is not a common tale of fame. It is a dossier narrated in the dark, built from testimonies, documents, and purchased silences. An actor rose too fast, shined too brightly, and fell in a way no one dared to explain. The contract he signed promised everything. The price, however, never appeared on screen. In the files of this investigation, the beginning seems ordinary. A young, handsome man, ambitious, raised by the sea, dreaming of soap operas and applause. Nothing set him apart from the others except hunger. Not the hunger to work, but to dominate. Failed auditions piled up, doors closed, false smiles repeated, until someone noticed him when everyone else had given up. The first contact did not come by phone or email. It happened in a bar at night, with a strange perfume and a low voice. A well-dressed man spoke of blocked potential and ancient keys. He claimed to represent invisible interests tied to the country's largest television network. No names were mentioned. A black card was left behind. The golden symbol seemed to stare back. For weeks, the card became an obsession, taken out, hidden, stared at. When the actor vanished for 3 days, no one noticed. When he returned, something had changed. It was not confidence, it was the absence of fear. He scheduled a meeting in an old house filled with candles and icons that belonged to no known religion. The agreement was explained calmly, as if it were tradition. Guaranteed success for a decade, leading roles, internal protection, absolute silence. In return, periodic rituals, offerings, and loyalty. No denunciations, no early exits. The actor agreed, not on paper, but in presence. The first ceremony took place that very night. Accounts describe robes, chants, and an animal sacrifice led by a so-called spiritual consultant. The blade was guided, the blood was collected, fear was swallowed. At the end, a cold sensation in the chest, as if something had been installed there. The following week, the phone rang. An unexpected audition, then another. The machine was activated. Within 3 months, he was a lead actor. Critics questioned it, the public applauded, the network shielded him, advertising contracts multiplied. The rise looked miraculous. But behind the scenes, a circle repeated itself. The same faces, the same symbols on rings and necklaces, the same locked rooms and carefully chosen schedules. A veteran actress, drunk during a late-night shoot, confirmed what no one said openly. The network's foundation allegedly involved ancient pacts meant to dominate audiences and influence the masses. Soap operas as social engineering, entertainment as a portal. Leading actors went through rituals. Those who refused vanished from the casting lists. Meetings took place in basements, farms, and remote mansions. Animals were offered frequently. In rare cases, according to her, people who were invisible to society. No bodies, no news. Those who asked too many questions fell ill, went insane, or died. The actor knew. He said reporting it was impossible. The entire system was compromised. By the 7th year of the contract, the effects began. Insomnia, alcohol, medication, emptiness. Success no longer warmed him. Nightmares announced the 10th year, the final payment. Time alone was not enough. It demanded real loss, something loved. The actor began to collapse. And that was when he tried to escape. Up to this point, success seemed complete. But contracts like these don't end, they continue. The attempt to escape began in silence. The actor started skipping meetings, refusing invitations, avoiding places where his presence had once been mandatory. Internally, reports of instability emerged. Doctors connected to the network prescribed heavy medication without clear diagnoses. The message was unmistakable. Withdrawal would not be tolerated. It was during this period that he revealed the true cost of the 10th year. It was not about ending the contract, but sealing it. A final payment described as significant and irreversible loss. Some lost their health, others family members. There were cases of deaths treated as ordinary tragedies. None were coincidences. Internal testimonies point out that fear was the main tool of control. Anyone who questioned the system suffered accidents. A supporting actor had his career destroyed after commenting on rituals outside the circle. Shortly after, he developed an aggressive illness. The case was quickly closed. Inside the network, no one spoke. The protagonist began documenting everything. Audio recordings, dates, symbols, names. He knew survival was unlikely, but he wanted to leave traces. In private conversations, he said he felt something inside his chest, a presence that demanded, pressured, reminded him of the deadline. The nightmares became daily, always about collection. In the 8th year, an investigative journalist approached him. She asked questions that were far too precise. Shortly afterward, she suffered a strange accident in broad daylight. The investigation was closed as a fatality. The actor understood the warning. Burning files became instinct. Keeping secrets became a sentence. Medical reports began to note arrhythmias, memory lapses, and dissociative episodes. The network treated it all as exhaustion. Internally, his name circulated in closed meetings. There were doubts about his reliability. When a pact begins to fail, the system responds. In the 9th year, he sought external help. He consulted religious leaders, alternative therapists, occult specialists. All reached the same conclusion. Ancient pacts are not undone, only broken. And breaking them requires sacrifice. The idea of choosing between his own life and someone close began to surface. Witnesses say that from that point on, he isolated himself completely. He stopped answering family calls, ended relationships, and spent days locked inside his home. Paranoia was constant. He felt watched. On set, he forgot simple lines. The sparkle disappeared. The network was already preparing the public narrative. 3 weeks before the 10th year, he disappeared. No warning, no messages, only an address sent anonymously to someone close with the phrase, "last chance." The location was outside the city, far from cameras and records, a perfect setting to close an old contract. When they arrived, they found a ritual being prepared. Robes, symbols, candles, and familiar faces. At the center, the actor, visibly weakened. Beside him, someone who should never have been there. In that instant, he understood. The final payment was not symbolic. It was human and irreversible. What happened next was not an accident. It was the execution of a clause. The atmosphere felt compressed, as if the air itself carried weight. No one raised their voice. Participants behaved with disturbing normality, discussing technical details while something irreversible approached. The actor watched in silence, without resistance. It was not resignation. It was the late understanding that the choice had been made years earlier. The ritual mediator explained that the contract required balance. A decade of success demanded equivalent compensation. The mistake, he said, was not signing, but becoming attached. Those who cling suffer more. The actor listened with empty eyes. He knew any reaction would be interpreted as a formal breach. The presence began to manifest subtly. Candles trembled without wind. Later, participants would report intense pressure in their chests. The actor started sweating coldly, clutching the place where he always claimed something had been installed. Witnesses say he whispered apologies, not to those present but to himself. When he tried to interrupt the ceremony, he was restrained without visible violence. It was unnecessary. Control was already established. The mediator simply reminded him that the alternative to payment would be immediate execution of the pact on multiple fronts. Death would not be the only loss. The choice was cruelly logical. At the final moment, something changed. The actor stood up, removed his robe, and declared he would not complete the ritual. He said he accepted the consequences, but would not participate. Absolute silence followed. Some stepped back. Others watched coldly. The breach had been officially declared. The reaction was immediate. Reports speak of a sudden drop in temperature and a deep sound with no identifiable source. The actor fell to his knees, screaming in intense pain. It seemed as if something was being torn from inside him. Blood ran down his face. No one approached. The mediator stated that the punishment would be exemplary. Broken pacts must be seen. They must generate fear. The presence intensified, and the actor's body began to fail. Convulsions, loss of consciousness, irregular breathing. The ritual was not completed. It ended in collapse. Hours later, the site was cleared. No records, no evidence. The actor did not walk out. He was taken without an ambulance, without public doctors, without external witnesses. The system was already moving to build the official version. The narrative needed to be clean. 2 days later, the news appeared discreetly. Actor found dead under tragic circumstances. Drowning. Accident. No deep investigation. The network released emotional statements, tributes, and special programs. The public mourned. The truth remained buried. Internally, the case was treated as closed, a silent reminder to the others. Success continued, contracts were renewed, and new faces emerged. The machine did not stop. It simply replaced the broken piece. The pact remained active. Death ended the actor's life. It didn't end the system. After his death, subtle changes occurred behind the scenes. Meetings were rescheduled, names removed from casting lists, contracts adjusted without explanation. Those present that night avoided eye contact. Silence became stricter, not out of grief, but fear. The message had been understood. Veteran employees report similar cases in other decades. Meteoric rises followed by abrupt falls, always accompanied by official explanations that were too clean. Drownings, domestic accidents, unexplained overdoses. The patterns repeated, yet were never publicly connected. The symbols continued to appear: rings, necklaces, discrete markings in costumes. Nothing explicit, everything acceptable. The repetition was not aesthetic, it was ritualistic. Specific dates concentrated major premieres. Lunar phases coincided with internal decisions. Nothing was random. People close to the actor began to suffer indirect consequences. Severe depression, emotional breakdowns, sudden illnesses. There was no formal link, but there was proximity. Anyone who touches the pact, even without signing, carries remnants. The contamination was silent. An informal investigation attempted to move forward. A producer gathered old documents, recordings, and testimonies. Shortly after, he was dismissed due to internal restructuring. His name vanished from the credits. Months later, he left the country. He never spoke again. The audience on the outside continued consuming the stories. New heartthrobs emerged. New faces dominated prime time. The cycle renewed itself effortlessly. The actor's tragedy became a distant memory, romanticized in specials and carefully edited interviews. Those who survived carry invisible scars. Some developed addictions, others lost the ability to feel pleasure entirely. Success continued, but hollow. Fame became anesthesia. The louder the applause, the less humanity remained. Reports indicate that the pact demands more than blood. It demands time, energy, and influence. Each character portrayed, each repeated narrative, each normalized value serves a greater function. Entertainment operates as a channel, the audience as unconscious fuel. The actor's death did not end anything. It only reinforced the structure. It served as a warning to anyone considering breaking, questioning, or exposing it. Fear is more efficient than any signed contract, and it works even after death. Over the years, the story diluted, but the records remain. Stored audios, annotated dates, recognizable symbols for those who know how to look. The pact is still active, and as long as unexplained success exists, payment will follow. Os últimos registros revelam que ele já sabia como tudo acabaria. The actor's final recordings reveal full awareness of the outcome. In one short audio file, he says the mistake was not believing, but wanting too much. He explains that fame charges invisible installments, and when the bill arrives, there is no negotiation. The recording ends abruptly, as if someone had entered the room. The official version never mentioned internal pressure, threats, or conflict. It spoke of emotional fragility, exhaustion, and misfortune. The public accepted it without resistance. Collective mourning was brief. The machine resumed production, distraction, and new idols. The system does not allow long pauses. Those who tried to reopen the case encountered sealed doors. Documents vanished, witnesses withdrew, files corrupted themselves. The recurring sensation was constant surveillance, not explicit but sufficient to create self-censorship. Fear fulfilled its role without needing to show itself. With time, it became clear that the tragic ending was not an exception. It was a clause, a predetermined outcome for those who reached the top too quickly without understanding the real cost. The signature is not on paper, but in behavior, silence, and obedience. Those who accept enter, those who question fall. The actor was neither the first nor the last. The industry depends on constant replacement, new faces, same methods. Repetition is not failure, it is strategy. The audience sees only the spectacle. The backstage remains protected by carefully constructed narratives. What disturbs the most is not the ritual itself, but normalization. Meetings, contracts, and tributes coexist with the inexplicable as part of the job. When absurdity becomes routine, no one questions it anymore. Terror stops shocking and begins operating quietly. The actor's end served as an internal adjustment. It reinforced hierarchies, renewed commitments, and consolidated fear. The network never lost audience. On the contrary, the episode coincided with a new cycle of success. For the system, balance was restored. Those who know the complete story understand that the tragedy lies not in death, but in the path. In the illusion sold, the choice made under promise, and the inevitable charge. Fame, when mediated by forces unseen on screen, stops being conquest and becomes debt. Today, when a new heartthrob emerges from nowhere, some recognize the signs: rapid ascension, inexplicable protection, absolute silence. The pattern does not need proof to exist. It repeats because it works, and because few dare to look beyond the script. Certain contracts don't end, they just keep collecting. The famous actor met a tragic end after signing with that network. Not by chance, not by weakness, but by realizing too late that certain contracts never end, they only collect. And while the audience watches, the bill continues to be paid far from the cameras. If this story made you uncomfortable, it served its purpose. Subscribe to the channel to continue accessing stories that many prefer to keep buried. Turn on notifications. Not all stories can wait. And the next time you see a new face suddenly appear on television, remember, fame has a cost, and someone always pays.